Welcome back to Celluloid Psychosis. I am your host, TJ Bowser, and joining me as always, the very handsome, very British, the king of Salisbury himself, Mr. Paul Ashford. What's up, buddy?
Hey man, I am great. I'm really good. Really good. Really happy to be here. Really happy to be talking about this movie.
Ooh, yeah,
It's a film that goes right back to my childhood.
same.
So yeah, man, super excited. How about you?
Yes, the same sentiment goes here. We're
hmm
both really big fans of this movie, and I think this franchise in general just had a really big impact on us growing up. So this is a really exciting day. But first, we'll dive in to each other's weeks. Paul, give us a little slice of that amazing life.
Talking about slice, I had amazing pizza last night with the girlfriend. Our favorite pizza joint has opened up a new pub local to us. We went there last night. It was great. It was also the Christmas lights turn on
Ooh.
in our little town, so very starting to get festive. So yeah, great, all good. Been out with my friend as well since we last recorded, drinking, walking, all the good stuff. I've just today finally received my Frankie Freako from Raven Banner, my Blu-ray. It looks gorgeous. I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but I will. Also, this week I've received my Turbine Media releases of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre and the Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2, the 4K media books, and they look absolutely stunning. So, man, yeah, I'm good. It's been a really good week for me for movies and stuff. How about yourself?
Man, it's been this full on at work. I have
hmm
been doing all the editing. I've been doing the picture taking and the blog posting and the website maintenance, all the stuff. But today, I got to do something special, and I got to drive an Alfa Romeo. Well, not I got to drive. I got to photograph one. The drive
hmm
comes tomorrow. I got into one and started it up, and that was fun. Uh, that was horrible to get out of. I don't recommend
Yep.
that to anybody that's American sized. Uh, I literally crawled out of it. I don't know if you've ever watched the video of Johnny Cash explaining how to properly get out of sports cars, but that's how I ended up getting out of that thing.
You're like,
But
yeah.
anyway, yeah, that was fun and all that. But got some movies coming up here. Vinegar Syndrome should be coming up. That should be dropping anytime soon.
Oh, yeah, two new announcements, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Friday, I think we're having that Black
hmm
Friday sale, and then the movies that I ordered earlier in the month, maybe they're shipping, I don't know how that's gonna work. I don't know. But you know what I do know? What this week's film is, and this week's film is 1991's Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2: The Secret of the Ooze, directed by Michael Pressman, written by Todd Langen, who also wrote the first one.
Wow,
Yeah.
that's interesting.
Yes.
Two very different movies.
Very, very different. So, starring Paige Turco as April O'Neil. So we have a different April this time.
hmm
I read somewhere that the first April, what's that, Judith Hogue, uh,
Yep.
didn't really do well in the first film.
She was hard to work with, apparently.
Yes,
She
yes.
didn't like the violence, so I've read. Didn't
Oh,
like the violence of the first movie, and didn't like thought the stuntmen were in danger a lot of the time. The footmen and the Foot Clan.
that's because you don't trust your people you're working with. That has
Yeah,
nothing to
she
do with.
just thought it was a bit violent, so she was apparently troublesome to work with for the
Yeah.
director.
David Warner as Professor Jordan Perry.
Oh yeah.
Michelin Sisti as Michelangelo / the Soho Man. Michelangelo's voiced by Robbie Rist.
hmm
Leif Tilden as Donatello / Foot Number 3, voiced by Adam Carl. Donatello is. Ken Scott as Raphael, voiced by Laurie Faso. Mark Casso as Leonardo, also the newsroom staff, voiced by Brian Tochi. That is the Asian gentleman from Revenge of the Nerds.
Yep, and also Police Academy. Several of the Police Academy movies. He's Tachi. Tachi is it? Oh no, that's his Revenge of the Nerds
Oh, he
character.
isn't. He is in Revenge of the Nerds. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, yeah. He's
Yeah.
Revenge of the Nerds and Police Academy.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Kevin Clash as Splinter. Ernie Reyes Jr. as Kino. Now, that is the suit actor of Leonardo from the first movie.
Yep. I think he was the stunt suit actor from the first movie.
Ah.
Yeah. I don't think he played him throughout the whole film, but yeah.
Francois Chow as Shredder, right?
Yeah, different actor to the first one as well.
Wrestling superstar Kevin Nash as Super Shredder.
Mm.
Toshihiro Abada as Tatsu. Tatsu! Vanilla Ice as the Frosty One himself. Vanilla.
I did wonder who played Vanilla Ice in this one.
Yeah, it was a little bit confusing. Yeah. Yeah. Paul, do you mind if I read the plot?
I think you should. I think you should. This is your pick.
It is. Leonardo, Donatello, Michelangelo, and Raphael discover the origins of the mysterious green mutagen that created them. Unfortunately, their nemesis Shredder also gets their hands on the ooze and uses it to create two powerful but dim-witted mutant henchmen, Toka, a snapping turtle, and Reza, a wolf. As Shredder plots to use the mutagen to take over the city, the Turtles team up with a new ally, Kino, a pizza delivery boy with martial arts skills. With time running out, the Turtles must face off against Shredder, his mutants, and his Foot Clan in an all-out battle to save New York. How's that one, Paul?
Yeah, that's fantastic. When are we going to see it? I've got tickets for that.
Yes, so this movie
Mhm.
came out a year after the original.
Literally, yeah.
It is not as violent as the original. There's not as much weapon action as you've seen in the 91. It's not as dark plot-wise. You don't get to see the Turtles suffering mentally as much. This is definitely a movie made for the target audience at the time, which was kids like us growing up. I caught this on VHS, and I had this on tape, like I said, and I just wore it out, just played it over and over and over and over again. Paul, what was your introduction to this film growing up, and what's been your relationship with it?
I'm so old that I went to the cinema to watch this when it came out. So obviously, a massive, huge Turtles fan.
Mhm.
Obviously, the year before, 1990 is when we got the first movie, and the hype around that was just incredible. I had some of the toys. My friend had loads of the toys. We were so hyped for that first movie. I remember they did like a pre-tour with people in suits. You could get photos of them, and my dad took me there in Southampton. And I remember I waited for hours just to get a photo taken with the turtles in the suits. I don't think it was these suits from the movie, but it was good suits. So I was hyped, and the first movie came out. I remember queuing around the block to see it. Thought it was incredible. I remember my first exposure was seeing the trailer in the cinema. I don't know what the film I was watching, but I saw the trailer and I was like, "Whoa, they've done a live action Turtles movie." So yeah, I loved the first film. I was super hyped for this one, especially as it had Vanilla Ice in it. I was massive Vanilla Ice at the time at the fan. Obviously, a lot of people were because of Ice Baby, that was so. I used to think he was super cool. So the hype was huge for this movie, and I remember going to the cinema to see it. And my initial impressions, absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it to bits. It were very as a kid, I thought it was better than the first one. Honestly, the first one, like you kind of mentioned, is very dark. Not very dark, but compared to this one, it is very dark. Not the kind of. I mean, my exposure to Turtles was the cartoon.
Yeah,
Didn't
same here.
really see too much of the comic books. I know the comic books are very different. Obviously, also being from the UK, back then we had the Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles. No nunchucks, so they even cut scenes, I believe, from the cartoon. So Raphael wasn't allowed his nunchucks. So it was a Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles, very family kid friendly. Very different. One of my friends used to get some American comics, and the art style and everything looks and it said Ninja Turtles, obviously, looks so different to what I knew of the Turtles being in the cartoon. And I think when the first movie came out, that was kind of almost more styled towards those comic books that I hadn't read. Although the look of the Turtles is very much from the cartoon. So this movie, Secret of the Ooze, was kind of what I would have expected the first film to be. But I absolutely loved it. It was a completely different tone. It was literally the cartoon just come to life on the big screen in live action for me. Absolutely loved it. Absolutely loved it to pieces. definitely buoyed on a bit by the fact Vanilla Ice was in there. Andy had a new song for the movie, although I did absolutely love Partners in Crime from the first film, Turtle Power. But yeah, initial impressions for me, absolutely adored it. What about you?
So I've talked about my love for turtles and the history of my love for turtles in the past, not on
Hmm.
this show, but on other shows that I've done. So essentially, growing up, from what my mother has told me, Tom and Jerry was my first love. And then
Hmm.
quickly after that, I found Ninja Turtles. And I've always had one of those TV, like VCR tape, combos growing up. And my mom got me Ninja Turtle tapes, and I'll show them on screen here. They kind of look like that.
Hmm.
So if you're familiar with the FAHE Turtles tapes, that's what they look like. So I used to carry around a milk crate filled with these tapes. I roughly had 75 or so Ninja Turtle tapes. They the movie, that, or just promotional stuff, anything Ninja Turtles related, I had tapes of. And then, of course, like I said, I had the movies and stuff. And I'd take those whenever I go to my grandmother's house. I'd take
Hmm.
all my movies with me because I got to make sure I got the ones that I like. And it's just something I always did. And then I'd pile my toys on top. I had a giant Donnie, like the bigger one that I would
Yep.
put on top of the tapes and carry with me. I know I was a big Ninja Turtles guy, always a Donatello guy, and it's something I grew up with, something that my daughter has also grew up with and is loved and has her own relationship with turtles. It's hers is more like the 2004 series
Hmm.
compared to mine, but yeah, but it's cool to see that there's different generations of turtle fans, and we all love the same thing. And these films are just timeless. I love the first two films. The third one, it has its place. I like some of the stuff that goes on in it, but it's not perfect. Probably not one that we want to talk about. But yeah, it has a very unique style. This film does. It has no Casey Jones, which I don't like,
No.
but it has Vanilla Ice, and we got to see other mutants, and that's something that I think we all grew up wanting. Bebop and Rocksteady,
Hmm.
but I read somewhere that they didn't want that; that they wanted to try something new here. And Toka and Razor are only used in one episode of the animated series. I showed Paul that yesterday, and actually screen grab of that from a VHS tape. Uh, yeah, I don't have a problem with these guys. They're definitely comedic relief in a very, very silly movie that has a lot of it already.
Yep.
Uh, they're dim-witted, like I said in the plot. There, it adds this really fun, like, what do you want to say? Like, it makes the movie more gentle. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
More comic book. More.
Yeah, I wouldn't
Yeah.
say more comic book. I
Pop.
would say more family friendly,
Yeah. Yeah.
because there's constant, like, jokes breaking up the violence.
Yeah.
Where the
Yeah.
first film, it's just a completely different tone.
Hmm. They
Uh,
never seem a threat, do they?
yeah,
These two.
and maybe that's why Casey's not here, is because he's a different type of character. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
He has his jokes, but they're more like adult quips and stuff.
I
Like
can't
like the
imagine Elias Kotas would want to be in this.
no,
If he read
no.
the script, he'd be like, "Nah, that's not for me." uh, although apparently it was. I read that it was New Line didn't want him in
Weinstein.
this one because they thought his mask looked like Jason Voorhees. I don't know if you've heard of Jason Voorhees. He's like
Nah, never.
no, Jason Goes to Hell or something. I don't know. And obviously New Line, they're the house that Freddie built. So that could just be a rumor. That could just be someone's
But
made
we're
that
in the
up.
midst of them purchasing it around this time, right?
Nah, this is what 1991, wasn't it? So nah, it must have been way before, surely.
No, because then production of Jason Goes to Hell would have started soon.
Oh, maybe that's why they wanted all the they wanted to get
I'm
it mixed
just saying,
up.
man, the timelines.
Have you seen Jason Goes to Hell? Have you? I didn't know.
A couple times.
Ah, okay,
Yeah,
yeah.
don't know
Well,
much about it.
that's apparently yeah. They just thought his character was scary. The mask looks like looks. It does look a bit like Jason
Oh,
Voorhees, but it's obviously a hockey mask. So
Joe
okay,
says that there's a licensing issue that prevented. Oh, from the owners. Okay, that would make sense. I
right?
believe that there was a split, like a Eastman and Laird split at some point or something.
Yeah.
So that could have definitely played a role.
Yeah, I mean, I read a couple of quotes supposedly from them as well, saying that they didn't want Bebop and Rocksteady in there,
Yeah,
which
that's
is
right.
strange.
You're right. You're right. I did
Yeah.
read something about that. Yeah.
As a kid, I would have loved to have seen Bebop and Rocksteady in there. But it was cool. We got two
We
completely
got
new
to see him
characters.
in the Michael Bay ones.
Yeah,
Seamus and who plays the other one?
I can't remember.
I
I
can't.
say I'm not. I've only seen the Michael Bay ones maybe once.
Mm.
Um,
Out of the Shadows, that's what they're in. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. This is this trilogy is where my heart lies.
Yeah.
Although, like you mentioned, the third one, yeah, but it was one and two for
We
me.
got a better game from the third one. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
That whole concept of the turtles going back in time. Yeah.
But
That's cool.
we did get Casey Jones back in the third one,
Yes. Yes.
and
And
also,
the same April? Or is it a
oh, I
different
don't know
April?
about that. I don't know about that. The third one was it not like a year? Was it? It wasn't as soon after.
93?
I was at 93, was it? I mean, I'm sure I didn't see the third one in the cinema. I'm sure by the third one came out, maybe I'd moved on to other things. Maybe, I don't
93,
know.
yeah.
Because one and two, I think I saw three when it came out on video. Honestly, for me, I didn't like the whole samurai thing or
Yeah,
what looked like
it's the same April.
it looked like a martial arts samurai movie,
Yeah.
part three, or at least the cover did. So I was like, I'll wait for that on video. But yeah, we're talking about part two anyway. So yeah, it was cool to get two completely new mutants, but I really back then I would have loved to have seen Bebop and Rocksteady.
Mm.
But it was cool to get two. But there's two that weren't even from the cartoon, were they? These two, they just made them for this movie.
Well, just that one episode.
Yeah, I think that was after the movie came out, though, wasn't it?
Season 7.
Was it not after the movie
It
came
had
out?
it
Oh,
had to have
it's
been,
stupid one.
chronologically, if the cartoon started
Yeah,
in 87 and then Tokar and Razor didn't appear in the cartoon till season 7 of that series, so
right.
yeah.
So they're cool, though. I mean, I love Jim Henson. I love all of his movies and
Yeah,
stuff.
the movie's dedicated to him.
Yeah, the movies that came. Obviously, he died in between the first one coming out and this one coming out. So it's a nice touch they dedicated to him. The turtle suits look incredible, like they did in the first one. They tweaked them a bit here and there, but yeah, the two mutants looked amazing as well with their effects. So so much nicer than what we get nowadays with the CGI'd turtles and
And
Michael
I
Bay.
was thinking about it. The only
Hmm.
time they use weapons is against the mutants?
Yeah, so apparently, yeah, it's very infrequent weapon use. They don't their weapons kind of stay on the back of their shells throughout the whole film. But
Decoration,
apparently
essentially.
there was backlash because the first one was too violent. It didn't have the tone of it because it's supposed to be a kids' film.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously, in the UK, it was Hero Turtles. The UK had Raphael's nunchucks cat out the first one anyway. So I'd imagine the UK had a big say in this one, in what happened in it. It's kind of funny at the start as well. In the I love the start of this film as well. It just starts off in New York. Everyone's eating pizza, aren't they? Like everyone on the street is eating pizza. Kind of almost saying like, oh, the turtles made their mark in the first movie. Like everyone loves pizza now, kind of thing.
I mean, the whole
Um,
opening is just a montage of New Yorkers eating
yeah,
pizza in different situations, which then made
exactly.
me assume that that's what happens when you become an adult. You just
Yeah.
eat pizza all the time. And guess what? It's a lie.
I don't know. I do eat pizza quite a lot.
You do. I mean, between you and I, we consume a lot of
Yeah.
pizza.
Hmm. It could
I
be
blame
because
the
of this
turtles.
movie, and we don't
Yeah.
realize. Yeah. I love the whole intro. It starts with that. You got Kino, the pizza delivery
Bum,
guy,
bum,
going
bum,
into like
bum,
the
bum,
little
bum, bum,
shopping mall,
bum, 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 bum,
and a whole group of thugs are in there. He tries to take them all on.
Who are you?
It's
Night
kind of
security? No, we're
yeah.
like
It's
pizza
kind of funny
delivery.
how they're all masked. And the guy looks at him and unlifts his mask to say, "Hey, you night security?" And then puts his mask back down again. He's like, "Well, you've just completely shown me who you are."
Yeah.
um, and then obviously the turtles come in, and you get the really cool. And also the thing I like about this movie as well, when that happens, and then the title flashes up on the screen, and it's the actual turtles logo.
Yeah.
Whereas the first one had a different logo, it was almost like the first one wasn't going for the cartoony style. It was going for like a
Oh,
dark look,
yeah.
which is fine. This one was completely and utterly different. I love that, and just that whole scene is the whole fight scene is comical because, like you said, they're not really using their weapons. I
It's
mean, even
essentially we see the turtles performing skits with these foot
yeah,
soldiers.
They're almost like, "Oh, we're not allowed to use weapons. What can we do? Oh, look, there's this clown that, like,
Yeah, that pokes
goes back and
things.
forth, so I can do that. Hey,
Yeah.
hey, yeah." He turns that into, like, attacking them. Obviously, you get you get Raphael, can't use his nunchucks, so he just gets sausages that are tied
Mikey.
together. Yeah. Oh, is it Mikey, is it?
Yeah, not Raph.
Oh, sorry. I was presuming it
Yeah,
was
he
Raph.
says, cold cut. What does he say? Oh, shit. I can't even
Yeah, it's
remember.
cold cuts. He definitely says cold cuts. I forgot the actual line is. But do you know what? That scene was cut for the UK, even though it was
Really?
sausages. Yeah. They look too much like nunchucks, so
I like how they pile them all up, and then they have the one guy spinning by his belt.
yeah. But, and yeah, every scene, I mean, I think they use toys at one point because obviously it's a toy store they're in as well.
Mhm.
So, yeah, there's a real lack of
Yeah,
weapon use
because
in this
he
movie.
takes that little bopper toy and he
Yeah,
smacks the guy in the face with
yeah.
it.
So it's such a great intro.
Yeah.
Um, really well done, and yeah, it's cool. I just love it, and that's yeah, such a high
It
energy start to the
essentially
movie.
sets you right where the last film left off, where
Yeah,
Shredder's
yeah,
dead. Well, we assume Shredder's dead, and the
hmm
turtles are like, "Hey, the Foot Clan know where we live. We need to go find a new place to live." After the
yeah,
events of the last film, even though Shredder's dead, there's still remnants of the Foot Clan out there. And then, of course, there's also this thing is like, "Hey, we saved the city. Shouldn't we be able to go out there and do this?" So they're
hmm
temporarily living with April, and then that's kind of like becoming like this whole thing because April's like this news reporter and she
yeah,
lives in an apartment building, and then there's people complaining, which is not really complaining, but it's subtly hinted at in an
hmm
exchange earlier whenever April's going upstairs and like, "Hey, ain't you April O'Neil? You guys do a lot of aerobics and stuff." Yeah, that's that whole exposition thing.
yeah. I do love what they've done with the Foot Clan. They're like a kind of a bit of a lost group, aren't they? There's
They're
not many of
not
them left.
as organized or as scary as the first film. They're definitely more of like the common guy, less
Yeah,
kid. They're not troubled kids anymore. They're more
no,
teenagers, and yeah, you see that a lot here, especially with like the Kino.
yeah,
And what do you want to call that? Like jumping in thing where he has to do all the tests.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's,
Yeah.
they're kind of like a lost group, which I think is really cool how it
Well,
carried on
it
directly
really
after the
allows
second.
you to see, like, how much of an impact the turtles fucking, like, destroying all of them in the
Yeah,
last movie had an impact on the organization as a whole. Like,
hmm
them destroying did they destroy their last layer in the first movie? No, they didn't. Like, why don't they just go back? Did the cops raid it and steal all that shit? Like, take all
Probably
that
everyone
stuff?
knows where it is
That's
now,
probably
don't
what
you?
happened is the cops
Yeah, yeah,
probably okay. We'll assume that that's what happened, and that's why they go to
yeah.
the junkyard.
But yeah, they kind of lost about Shredder. Obviously,
Tatsu.
Tatsu. Who's
Huh?
Toshihiro? Is that the yeah.
Tashiro
Oh, yeah,
Obata.
Tatsu. Oh, Toshihiro's the actor, yeah.
That's his name, Toshiro Obata.
Yeah, he's not really a strong enough
He
leader. It's
just
kinda
walks
cool.
around and screams.
Yeah. And obviously he's saying, "I'm gonna be the new leader," then obviously that's when we get Shredder appears in the background in the shadows, and you're like,
Yeah, because then he's like,
"Master
"Me,
Shredder."
Tatsu, is now the leader of the Foot
Yeah.
Clan." And then Shredder's like, "Ugh." And then that one guy's like, "Oh, his face." Yeah.
Yeah. But you can't actually see it, can you?
No. No.
Yeah.
Uh,
So it's a cool reintroduction to Shredder. Um,
and he
it's
has that
kind of
that wheeze that where he sounds like he has like fluid in his lungs. You know what I
yeah.
mean?
It was cool because I remember watching it in the cinema. I was like, "Oh wow, Shredder is like a badass. He's like you thought he was dead in the first one. He's back. He's like invincible."
As Raphael
Um,
said, and then he took a header into the back of a garbage truck. Ah!
yeah.
You know?
So it kind of sets him up to be like a badass, invincible bad guy. Um, it's kind of a shame we didn't get anyone else from the series as the bad guy in this movie.
Yeah, there's just so much to go. Like, where's Baxter?
Yeah.
I got Baxter. And there's no
Mm.
Vern. We talked about this pre-show. The lack of Vern is a
Mhm.
dynamic here, and we just get that like
David
assistant
Warner guy.
camera guy who's
Yeah.
like, and
Oh
he's
yes, yeah.
turns out to be a foot soldier in disguise.
Mhm.
Like, fuck, that's all we get. We don't get no fucking Vern Fenwick asshole guy. Like, come on. And it's like, the only time we do get that is that Will Arnett, and yeah, he's great, but
Yeah.
he's not Vern.
No, no, no,
Not
no.
sleazy enough, not greasy enough. You know what I mean? If you watch the stuff, if you read the comics, you know. Anyway. Back to this. So
Yeah,
where are
yeah. Have you cut out on me, or have I cut out on you? So if we're back to this, haven't talked about Kino. So Kino is obviously a brand new character for this movie. Again, I don't think he was seen at all in the comic book or the cartoon up until before this point. Um, what I really liked about him, he starts off as the nerdy pizza guy.
Mhm.
Um, Actually, that's the fun thing. At the start of the movie as well, his introduction to the movie, he's delivering pizzas, and you
The
can tell
girls.
he's in there because he tries to chat up those girls, ask if they want to go on a
Dream
date.
on, creep. And if I would
Yeah.
dream about something, I'd dream about something a little thinner. Yeah.
Wow. I know that's obviously a reference to pizza, I'm guessing, but
Mhm.
in today's society, that'd be like, whoa, what? You can't just fat shame girls. They're not, they weren't even fat anyway. But
I
it's a
believe that
weird.
that was come to them. That was a retort to
Hmm.
them making fun of him.
Yeah, yeah. It's got to
He
be
was
'cause-
just
and pe-
trying to schmooze them.
Yeah, yeah. But it
With
just brings up as a real nerdy guy. I guess it was a pizza joke, like fin-based pizza.
sure.
That's how I saw it. But he's such a cool character. He starts off as this nerdy, silly guy. He's quite brave though, because he tries to take on that whole army of guys in the department store. Um, and then he kind of turns into the hero. He gets free pizza for April, which is
Yep.
how he kind of gets introduced to the turtles properly, because he's at her
Well, he
flat.
sees these turtles and he's like, "What the fuck?"
Yeah. Obviously, he sees him at the start, doesn't he, and almost faints when he's in the big fight at the start. But yeah, he kind of turns into the hero. I mean, even like you mentioned, he auditions for the Foot Clan
Yep.
to get in behind the scenes. Or not auditions. There must be a different word for
I
it.
like the
And
transition to
yeah,
how Shredder, not Shredder, Splinter, kind of
yeah,
like gives him the lowdown and like
yeah.
fills him in on the story so far.
Hmm.
And then we kind of only get the tail end of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I,
yeah,
I
yeah.
I love that whole transition scene there. Uh,
I don't
I
know.
like that there is some like Raph being Raph here still. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like he's still complaining. He has some of that outsider mentality where we see in the first film. So there's some of that cohesiveness here. It's
yeah.
not as far as Raph getting angry and going getting beat up on his own, but
No. Well,
it's
that kind of happens, doesn't it? It's
kind of
Raph that goes with Kino when he's
yes, and gets caught.
auditioning for the
Yeah,
Foot Clan, and he gets caught. But obviously, in this one, there's none of the getting beaten up and lying in the
no,
bathtub half dead. He's
we
just
just
captured
get
and tied up.
the supervillain thing where we put him in a giant net and hang them.
Yeah, yeah. Like Raph's tied up and to like a post, and then yeah, the others get
And then we get
caught
the
up in the
most
big net.
marvelous scene of Puppet Splinter pulling back an arrow
Yeah.
and just shooting it and then taking out like the world's thickest rope holding
Mhm.
massive turtles. Yeah.
Yeah. Super cool.
And the pizza in this movie is Pizza Hut, where the first movie was Domino's. Am I correct?
Oh, that's a bit of a deep dive. I don't
So
know.
if you watch whenever I
It was
believe
definitely
the
Domino's
first movie,
in
the first movie,
one of them.
100%,
Yeah, yeah,
because that's
yeah.
a Domino's guy put the pizza in
Yeah, down the
through.
sewer. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I
Hmm.
believe it's a Pizza Hut thing here.
Really?
I
I didn't
might be
notice that.
wrong. I don't know.
You could be wrong.
I know the pizza changes
I want to
change.
find out now.
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't notice
I
that.
had Pizza Hut today, by the way, in
Really?
preparation for this. Yeah,
Are they paying for this? This review?
not a sponsor, Pizza Hut.
But if you're interested, get in touch.
Yes, especially Papa John's. Oh man. So
Yeah.
as far as comic book movies, definitely have to say this is one of the better ones. And in the '90s, we were plagued with terrible comic book movies. Some good, some bad. More
Hmm.
on the bad side. I mean, we were early introduction to CGI. Luckily, this movie was early on enough that we didn't have it wasn't plagued with any of it. We
No, no,
still
no.
got that.
Jim Henson.
Jim Henson's awesome work, and we got the
Yeah.
animatronics, and we got the suits and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
when you look at things like The Crow and Spawn and stuff of that Aeon Flux,
Hmm.
this it kind of differentiates a little bit too much from the source material, and you can say that this film's more kid friendly and kind of not as
Yeah.
violent. But that's what Turtles is.
Exactly. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, there's an original Turtles. There's your comics. There's the original
Hmm.
comic book. anything after that, it was 100% marketed towards kids.
Yeah. I'm kind of surprised they shifted the tone so much because the first movie was a massive success, wasn't it? It
If you look at
blew all box office records.
anything that's not the comics, it's always kids. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Hmm.
I mean, up until the last Ronin, recently, it's always been like kid friendly. You know?
So I think in the UK, the first one is either a PG or it might have been a 12. It might have been one of the first movies that got a 12 rating, meaning you had to be over 12 to watch it. So that was probably a problem because obviously a lot of kids would have been under 12. But I mean, it was a massive, huge success. I remember it just blew away box office. It was the most successful independent film ever at the time,
Mm.
which is crazy. I read, and obviously that was only beaten by the Blair Witch Project, which was several years later. But saying all that, Part Two was also a big box office success, not quite on par with the first one, but I read that it did $76 million at the US and Canadian box office, which is massive. I think the budget was around 16 to 21 million. So huge money they brought in on the sequel, even though it is a completely different tone. But like you said, it was much more to the cartoon / comic book, this one. So it was a massive surprise that it was such a difference between the first two, because it does make you wonder. A lot of the fan or adult fans from the first one that went to see this one were like, "What am I watching?"
Mm.
Like, you go on YouTube, you'll see like watch parties and stuff of people like just completely destroying this film because they just don't understand. They're like, "Oh, why is he doing that? Why have they chosen a snapping turtle as the bad guy? You know, why don't they choose something?" It's just like, this is the comic book. Do you know the other bad guys in the cartoon series? I mean, there's like crazy mutants, isn't there? There's like I forgot, I can't remember the guy's
We could
name.
literally just go through them, like
He's the gorilla with the
Mondo
like,
Gecko,
yeah,
Baxter
exactly.
Stockman Fly, Leatherhead, stuff like
Yeah,
that.
exactly. So this is completely going towards the what Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is. It wasn't the dark one we got from the first movie, but yeah, this is kind of for the fans, I want to say for the children, but that's not quite right, is it? It's for the fans, for the people that watch the cartoons, read the comics. This is exactly the movie for them. This is almost what the first movie should have been,
Yeah.
but yeah, I guess for the first movie they
From
wanted.
a commercial standpoint and marketing, you know what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah,
This makes more sense coming from where Turtles was at the time
yeah,
compared to the first film.
hmm,
I love the first film. I think
yeah,
the first film's better than this film, but
hmm.
at the same time, tonal, this film fits better for general audiences and fits better for the Turtles fandom at the time. We had the Coming Out of Your Shells tour shortly after this, uh, which produced one of the best soundtracks ever.
Yeah.
Uh, I listen to it to this day.
Yeah,
Coming out of our shells.
I've seen clips of it. It looks pretty wild.
Yeah.
But I mean, nothing beats Vanilla Ice and Ninja Rap.
Yes, and that's something too. The weird part in this movie where it kind of like almost like that Brian De Palma movie, Body Double, where it just kind of like a fucking music video just happens in
Yeah.
the middle of a goddamn movie. We get that here with Vanilla Ice.
Right. They're just having a fight. They're on a battle, aren't they? And then is it one of them gets thrown into the wall, and
Yeah.
like the wall drops down. It just reveals like a spray paint graffitied logo for a
There,
nightclub.
yeah. And then you're in a nightclub and everybody's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, it's just dudes in suits."
I'm
Oh,
sure they must have went.
that's what it is. It's just
Yeah,
dudes in suits. So they're reacting as like this is a performance. So
yeah.
okay, think of this here. Is this a meta moment? What's going on? Like everybody's in the clubs acting cool because then like Razor comes in and
Yeah.
he like kicks down a fucking door. He's like, "Rah!" and then everybody's like, yeah, and then like the
Yeah.
fighting's still going on. And then Vanilla Ice is getting in it with it. He's like, yeah, yeah, and
Yeah,
getting
to
all
start off, he's scared, and then he starts like, "Oh, actually, yeah, no,
And
I
then by
can
the end of
I
like the
can
time
sing
they're
to I
done
can rap
kicking
to this."
ass and stuff, you know, they're done
Mhm.
because this happens after they feed him the donuts. So we have that character, the David Warner character, Professor Perry, we talked about
Yeah.
earlier. The turtles eventually kidnap him back from the Foot Clan in that failed escape attempt that we mentioned earlier,
Mhm.
and we see Professor Perry developed with the turtles in their new lair, the really, really cool subway station that we see in the third movie again. And I don't, is it used in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles: The Next Mutation? I can't remember now.
I don't know.
They
Actually,
definitely come out of like something. I have to. It's
Mhm.
been a while since I watched that series. Watch the Big Bad Beetle Bros podcast. I believe we talked about it on there. Anyway,
Ah.
yes, Ninja Turtles. Anyway. So they help him develop this mutagen thing that helps Tokar and Razor become their animals again, kind of
Yeah.
reverse the mutagenic effect, and they feed them the donuts with the medicine in them.
Pre-fight donuts.
Yes, pre-fight donuts, medicine, whatever you want to call it, science stuff. But they just start burping, so they need carbon dioxide to counteract the burping, and then they do the funniest thing ever and just fill up these giant mutants' mouths with fire extinguisher
Fire
stuff.
extinguishers, yeah.
And then we get the funny shot of them just being a dog and a turtle sitting on the dance room floor.
On the stage. Yeah. It's such a crazy scene. And honestly, that song is really cool as well. It's very catchy. Go Ninja, go Ninja, go. And obviously, yeah, Vanilla Ice was like white hot at the time, wasn't he? He was like super.
Oh, yeah.
I thought he was the coolest.
Everything hits here. Like,
I
even
still think
Kevin
he's cool
Nash.
today. Yeah. I still think he's cool today, Vanilla Ice. And it was a cool song. So it was amazing to see him appear. I guess the producers or the studio thought, hey, we had a really cool rap song in the first film. How can we make it better for the second one? Hey, let's get an act. Let's get a bit.
I
who's
love
right now?
that we have the whole build-up of the Super Shredder thing, and all he does is just get really fucking angry and kill himself.
Yeah, it kind of comes out of nowhere as well, doesn't it?
Well, because they find themselves of we got to have a big bad. How can we top the last movie? Oh, Super Shredder.
Yeah.
But how were we going to do that without showing the turtles killing this man? So last movie we fucking crushed him. We literally crushed him. And what are we going to do this time? Oh, the turtles can't kill him because then that'd be against what this movie's about. So what are we going to do? He'll crush himself. Wow. Genius. What an ending.
I thought he is criminally underused, Super Shredder.
He gets roid rage and punches out all the goddamn. Is he punching out the?
Yeah, like the legs of like the pier or
the
something.
Nightclub that they're under.
Yeah, because it's like on the water, isn't it? On the waterfront, so it's almost like a pier there underneath.
So are all the people in the nightclub fucked?
They wouldn't show that, though, would they? So did Vanilla Ice make it out?
I don't know. I mean, and I love how like the turtles, as this is going on, they're all like backing up and like, I can totally just jump to my left and I'm in water.
Yeah,
but they don't.
I saw Kevin. Yeah, it was criminally underused. Super Shredder. Obviously, yeah, he doesn't actually really get to fight, does he? He's just like smashing through the block or the legs of like the dock or the.
I think there's one of the turtles run at him once.
Yeah,
and that's it.
But I mean, I think Kevin Nash. I think he could have had him in.
We could have at least got a power bomb or a choke slam.
Would have been cool.
When you see wrestlers in these movies, like the They Live, I want to see some wrestling moves or something.
Yeah.
Or fight.
Well, I mean, They Live has got the really super long fights.
The best fight in cinema history, Paul.
Yeah. But I don't know if did you listen to? Did you ever listen to Kevin Nash's podcast?
Yes, of course.
He talked about this, didn't he? Did you hear him talk about this role? They just apparently the two guys in the crowd called out his real name, and he said obviously back in the 90s it was unheard of to hear your real name, so. And it was just two producers for the movie saying, "Hey, we really want you to be in our movie."
Yeah.
And apparently, they went back to his hotel room that night, talked him into it, and then stuck straws up his nose and they did a cast of his head and his face, and then that's how he got the role.
And it's amazing because Kevin Nash has been in a lot of cult movies.
Yeah, I think this was his first one, was it? This is his first role.
Definitely the start of.
Yeah, and I think this is 1991 is. Before he was
in Punisher,
in the NWO and all that stuff.
Yeah, Grandma's Boy. What else was he in?
But he wasn't a huge wrestler at the time, was he?
No, he's the Wiz in WCW at this point.
God, yeah.
And then he's gonna go to WWF, become Diesel, and then leave WWF, come back, become Big Sexy, do
Yeah. So it's
NWO.
before he really got big in the
Yeah.
wrestling, like well known. So it's cool. It's a cool story to hear.
We like
And
wrestling too, if you can't tell.
yeah, absolutely.
uh,
Kind of reminded me a bit of Bane, like Bane from which Batman?
Batman and Robin?
Poison Ivy.
Batman and Robin?
Yeah, Batman and Robin. Was it Batman and Robin? Yeah,
Yes, that
that
is
was
the wrestler
also.
Bane who ended up dying shortly after. Yes.
Yeah. A similar sort of thing with a huge. Yeah, it was cool.
That's
I
my
just
favorite Bane to date.
yeah, that literally was Bane. That's how I always imagined Bane
I
to be
always
like.
expected him to be much more lucha, but that's the closest thing. Like I always expected a Mexican, like luchador type guy, like
Yeah,
more
yeah.
the mercenary Jack. Yeah, that's just how I saw him. But
Mhm.
anyway, anyhow, Paul, how would you rank this movie?
We're going what, 5 pizza slices out of 5.
Aw, ooey gooey pizza slices.
It's got to be a good 4 pizza slices out of 5 for me.
Ooh, I'm gonna have to
Um,
agree with you.
yeah, it's just so accurate to the comic books, the cartoon series, the whole Turtles thing. It's just really fun as well. I do get why people think it's silly
Yeah.
because they're probably fans of the first movie or they haven't properly seen too much of the cartoon or the comics or know about all the characters that are in the series. So yeah, it was a completely and utterly different tone to the first movie, which is still surprises me to
I
this day. That
preferred the voices of the turtles in this film too, compared to the
yeah,
first film.
obviously yeah, we lost Corey Feldman for this one, didn't we? He was Michelangelo in the first one, and he returned in the third one. Was it Michelangelo? It was one of them. Obviously,
Forgiveness is divine, but never pay full price for a late pizza. That's what
yeah.
Corey Feldman said.
Yeah, unfortunately, even though this only came out a year after the first one, he wasn't in a very good place apparently. So he was dealing with some other issues, so they couldn't get him back for this
I
one.
heard he's in a bad place again. I heard he's getting a divorce right now, old
Oh,
Feldman.
really?
Yeah.
Hmm. I know he can play guitar.
Yes, he
I saw the. I
one
know
hell
everyone
of a
said he couldn't.
guitar player.
Yeah, but yeah, he returned for the third one. But yeah, no, the voices were good in this one, and there's a lot of also they get a lot more opportunity in this one with their jokes and quips and
Yeah.
stuff. Which is kind of not so much in the first one because of its tone, I guess.
There's
Yeah,
jokes, there's quotes, but they're not as prevalent or as vast as they are in this film.
yeah. One little factoid I thought was really cool, which I didn't find out until before we just done this episode. Uh, the Leonardo character, the suit, appeared in a British BBC TV movie in the same year. Something I've never heard of, a movie called Bernard and the Genie,
What the
which
fuck?
also released in 1991. I just caught this online on like a 10 things you didn't know about turtles kind of thing,
Yeah.
and I was like, huh. And there's a scene where I think the kid, this genie, he wishes for his toy to come to life, and he's got a turtles toy, and it comes to life, and it's obviously the geeks out there have realised it was a Turtles 2 Secret of the Ooze outfit because of the different subtle
Mm.
differences between the suits from the first second movie. And yeah, he comes out and he appears in this movie, and it's super cool. But I've never heard of the film. It's called Bernard and the Genie, but it's got Lenny Henry in it, who you probably don't know. He's a mega famous British comedian, and also got Rowan Atkinson, obviously
Oh,
another huge famous British comedian. I
Bean.
was like, and I Wikipedia'd it, and it was Christmas 1991. It was shown on the BBC in the UK on TV, and it
Mm,
was repeated once 2 years later, and that was it. It's never been shown again.
that's
So
crazy.
I think the Americans got it on VHS a year or two later, and it's never been out in any other format. So it's just lost to time. But now I want to see it, and I'm going to find it. It's probably terrible, but to have those two actors in it and Leonardo popping up, I thought was a really cool little factoid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's our thoughts, feelings, opinions on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 2, The Secret of the Ooze from 1991.
Yeah.
We enjoy it. We love it. And we're going to be back with much more film reviews. But next week, we will be back with all that physical media news.
Oh
Like Paul
yes.
said, there's going to be Vinegar Syndrome Black Friday sale stuff,
Yeah.
some Severance stuff. Yeah, it's a new month, so a whole new slew of announcements coming at you. And if you like this podcast and want to listen to other
Mhm.
ones just like it, head on over to www.projectlouder.net. or where else you listen to audio-only content. Paul, anything else you want to say?
No, just that I had a great time. And
Yes.
please, if you haven't seen this movie, definitely check it out. Definitely. I think it's streaming. Is it? We didn't mention where to get this film, did we?
No.
It's I think it's on Tubi in the UK. Obviously, it's had several Blu-ray releases as well. TJ's going to find it on his shelf. The one release I'm jealous of, there is a French Cowabunga edition, which is 1 and 2 in like a giant box with a sewer lid on the top. There you go. There is the triple feature on Blu-ray. So yeah, it's easily obtainable, this film, as you'd expect it would be. So yeah, please check it out.
There is an Australian release of the first film on Stinkovision with
Oh
Frankie.
yeah, from Umbrella. Yeah, that looks cool as well.
Fuck yeah. Well, until next week, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for commenting. Thank you. And we'll see you on the next one. I'm TJ Bowser. That's Paul Ashford. Tally ho!